First, one of the big questions after this summer's Sydney Northern Beaches and Brisbane lockdowns, after yet more leaks of COVID-19 from hotel quarantine, is will state and federal authorities look to put overseas arrivals into regional quarantine rather than keep them in CBD locations where the virus seems more likely to spread from? Albanese told me that using remote quarantine facilities would make sense.
Howard Springs in Darwin has been left virtually empty, certainly nowhere near capacity, for many months now, at the same time as 40,000 Australians can't get home. They're stranded. At the same time as when visitors have come back, they've quarantined in the middle of CBDs or in the middle of cities. It makes sense to have a practical plan.
But Prime Minister Scott Morrison, who has cottoned on to the general Australian sentiment that people here want complete eradication of the virus, was far more circumspect on such proposals after a meeting with the Gladstone Mayor this week.
I keep an open mind on these things. The government keeps an open mind on things. All I've simply done is reflect the views of those I spoke with when I was up in Gladstone. And they were views that were candidly expressed to me, and there are a lot of questions that have been raised, in particular by the Labor Mayor up there in Gladstone, and they're issues that obviously would have to be addressed in any proposal. It's a matter for the Queensland Government to work through those issues in their proposals, I think, with those local communities, as other Chief Ministers and Premiers have done on these types of issues.
On Friday afternoon, following that press conference in Brisbane, the PM discussed Annastacia Palaszczuk's Gladstone quarantine proposal with the Queensland Premier, and I understand Ms Palaszczuk said she would send him a formal proposal next week. When the Howard Springs quarantine camp was set up near Darwin, that required federal cooperation with the Northern Territory government. So there is the chance Scott Morrison will attempt to block the Gladstone proposal amid fears that mining communities could be hit by the coronavirus. There is another proposal before the Queensland Government to build a quarantine camp near Toowoomba. I'm told that federal authorities believe remote or regional quarantine is possible, but would cost a lot of money. You would effectively have to have an ICU capacity on site should people fall gravely ill. You would have to pay staff extra to stay out there for long periods so they did not contaminate other areas. This is all doable, but it comes down to political will. And perhaps the Prime Minister would rather not own the troublesome quarantine issue when states are in charge of managing outbreaks through their health officials at the moment.